Taking any responsibility for those jokes. Hi and welcome to our special Harry Potter Q&A. So let's invite onto stage right now Chris Rankin, Hugh Mitchell and Mirium Margolyes. Hello, how's it going? Wow, that's it. Oh, take a load off. That's a good crowd. Hello everyone. Okay. It's nice, isn't it?
I'll never get out of this. Sit up. Hello.
Okay, right, we have a roving mic in the audience, so if you want to ask a question, just put your hand in the air and let's get started. Who's going to be the first person to ask a question today then? That's easy. That's it, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Alright. Okay, we've got one at the back here. Alright, brave person is going to be the first person to ask a question.
This one's for Chris.
Hello.
I was wondering, because Fred and George insult Percy a lot jokingly in the books, I was wondering what's your favourite insult?
There's kids in the room.
I think she means in the book.
Oh, in the book?
Not one you would use on the street.
Yeah. I always quite liked the Fred, I can't remember which one it is that says it, but something about Percy not knowing a joke if it danced naked in front of him. Because I think that's Percy all over, pretty much. Yeah, bless him.
Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it? It's wouldn't know if it danced naked in front of him wearing Dobby's tea coat.
That's it. Yeah. He would not a slice of a sense of humour in Percy.
No.
Not a little bit. No.
Thank you.
Until right at the end of that bit where somebody dies.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Sorry. Nobody dies.
Alright, let's go for the next question. Second one's always easiest. Come on. Quicker, Harry.
I would run.
Come on.
Probably fall over. Smash the face against the floor.
Hi. With Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them coming out at the end of this year, and obviously Newt Scamander being a Hufflepuff, do you think more people are going to be releasing their Hufflepuff pride and more Hufflepuffs are going to be found, ironically, when the movie comes out?
Are you saying people are going to come out as Hufflepuffs?
Yeah, literally, rainbows and everything.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Yeah, that hasn't been a Hufflepuff, main protagonist yet. So I think that's probably a fair prediction. I would say, yeah.
I think there's quite a lot of Hufflepuffs. I don't think anyone. Yeah, there you go. And they're proud of it. But then they would be. Professor Sprout's a Hufflepuff, isn't she?
I'm not quite sure. I think so. Yes.
There we go.
Yes, there you are.
She was just testing them.
Question for Miriam. This is slightly off the Harry Potter thing. We were wondering, what was it like beating up Arnold Schwarzenegger End of Days? Was it satisfying?
Extremely. He's a horrible person. He farted in my face.
We've actually had we've sent people out to buy the film just to watch the scene where you give them a good drubbing, so...
He's very professional.
Apart from the farting in the film.
Well, yes, apart from that. I started the farting, I have to say. But he's just very full of himself and he thinks he's important and can grope any woman. He didn't want to grope me and I didn't mind at all. I just think he's rather revolting, personally.
Well done for giving him a good kicking anyway.
Oh, I would have pleased his testicles if I could have reached them.
Don't sit on the fence, tell us what you really think.
Yeah, don't sugarcoat this.
Okay, moving swiftly on. There's no Arnie fans.
Somebody over there as well.
Oh no, he's going right for the back.
He's getting his exercise.
I know, he just enjoys them.
What is your favourite Harry Potter book?
Oh, mine is always a controversial one because mine is Chamber of Secrets, which obviously because it's probably creepy, which I don't think many people, sort of over the years of doing these things, nobody's really ever come out and said Chamber of Secrets is their favourite book. I really like it. I couldn't even tell you why. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah,
I like it. It's got a good baddie. Good bad. Tom Riddle's a good baddie. I think he's well-written baddie.
yeah, I quite like Chamber of Secrets just because it's kind of like a murder mystery, which I quite like about it. I quite like the whodunit element of it. There's been another, petrification. So yeah. But my favorite book might be the sixth one. Might be the Half-Blood Prince. Just because it's when all the Horcrux stuff is starting to unravel, and you've got all the stuff in the cave, which I think is amazing with Dumbledore and Harry's adventures with Dumbledore, which I really like. Yeah. So probably number 6 for me, I'd say. Yeah.
I think probably the Chamber of Secrets because it's the only one I've read.
Next question. I've lost Harry now.
There's one over there.
Oh, right.
Hi. Just wondering what were your favourite scenes, or what was your favourite scene while filming?
Scene. Favourite scene.
One of my favourites wasn't even necessarily one. It wasn't like a big scene of the movie, but there's a scene in the Chamber of Secrets where Harry gets his arm deboned. So Lockhart tries to repair his arm, and it just ends up with such a floppy.
That bit makes me gag.
And that gagging is a sort of a theme of that scene because. I remember we filmed it in, where was it? We were filming it in some cloisters, it might have been Durham, but Rupert was given a bucket of fake slugs to vomit out repeatedly, take after take, and that was a lot of fun to watch, and probably not much fun to do, and I think he was quite a trooper, I think he, held up pretty well doing that, but certainly to film that was a good one. So, but I'm probably biased in that respect. What about you?
Mine would be so many. I'll give you one and a half. My favourite one that's in the films is the Chamber of Secrets in the Burrow, where all the Weasley family are having breakfast together when they first meet Harry. Mostly because it was Judy Walters and Mark Williams mostly improvising the whole thing, when Arthur Weasley says to me, what is the purpose of it? Is it a rubber duck? Is that what he goes with? Because there are so many versions of that came out, none of which I can repeat in front of the children that are probably I've never had baked beans come out through my nose through laughing before. I also got bitten by Errol the Owl in that scene. I had a scar on my finger from it. But my other favourite, probably my absolute all-time favourite, was shooting in Gloucester Cathedral on the first film, where Percy's taking the first years to the portrait, and there's a whole bit that never made it to the film because they cut Peeves the Poltergeist, I know, and it was Rick Mayall who was playing Peeves the Poltergeist, and he was brilliant. He stood. Obviously, he wasn't on camera. He was stood off camera. They brought him in for 2 weeks to stand off camera and shout his lines at me, and he was hilarious. Signed my Harry Potter book to Chris, quite the finest actor I've ever slept with. Cross that. Worked with. Love Rick. Yeah.
I think my favourite scene was the one I was in. which was in the greenhouse with the mandrakes. And I had a good time on that. It was lovely. So that would be my favourite.
Great. Okay, let's go for another question. Oh, it's just non-linear question asking system.
You mentioned, obviously, like the cutting out of peas, and it made me think of in the fourth book, they cut out the character Winky the Elf, who I thought was like a very crucial character at the start of the fourth book, and I just wanted to know how you feel like about characters being cut out.
I think it's a necessary evil in adapting books into films, and plays for that matter, that at some point something has to go. And I fully appreciate that I'm sat in a room full of people who would happily sit through a 14-hour version of each film, but you just can't physically do it. And at the end of the day, I remember talking to David Heyman about it when he rang me once about Fred's, no spoilers in here, right? Fred's death, when Fred dies, and sort of there was a bit of toing and froing about how that was going to be dealt with. And what I talked to him about was the fact that at the end of the day, the films are called Harry Potter and the something or other. So what you have to remember is that they're films about Harry Potter, and if Harry Potter and his story, if you don't follow Harry through the whole film, if you start getting diverted by these little sort of bits of backstory that really could be dealt with in a different way, then that's when it gets really confused, and that's when your film ends up being 7 hours too long. So either you film it and you cut it, like you do with, sadly with Peeves and with other bits, things like that happen, or you make that decision when you're writing and editing the script earlier on, is that actually there's a way we can get through this storyline, or we don't need this storyline, it doesn't bear any relevance to the end result of the plot, I guess. Does that make sense? Have I just rambled? Does that make sense? Yeah, so, great character. Winky was a great character, but SPW and all of that stuff really doesn't have anything to do with Harry and Voldemort and everything that happens there, so it has to go, sadly. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. It's all right. Next question. Full stop. Yeah.
If a new film came out, would you star in it?
Sorry, so if a new film came out, would you star in it?
Oh, nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, would you be up for reprising your roles again in the future?
Yeah, I don't think I could. I don't know if I was to ever play the same character again, it would have to be a character a fair bit older. I remember doing. I did some voiceover for the one of the video games that the EA made, and I was still playing Colin, but this was when I was a fair bit older, and we kept doing them, and I was like, yes, there's something not quite right about this. Could you go again? Just make your voice a little bit higher. I was like, yeah, okay, all right. And I ended up being like, wow, Harry! And it just got a bit Mickey Mouse, and so they turned it down a little bit then, and we found a bit of a compromise. But,
well, Colin was quite an eager chap, wasn't he?
Yes, eager is the word. Yeah.
But do you think there'll be in the future they might do what they've done with Star Wars and sort of like bring everybody back sort of 10, 15, 20 years for more?
For me, it would depend entirely on the money.
Yeah, I guess I would.
That certainly comes into
I would do it. I don't know if Percy would be. I don't know if my time with Percy is entirely done. Probably is. But then Percy's now married someone called Audrey, whoever she is. No, I'd go back, but I'd do what I do now and work in the production end and sit behind the desk and shout at people, because that's what I do for a living now.
There goes that answer your question. If the money's right, they're up for the next one. Right, let's have another question. Who's going right to the back now?
Which was the longest film to film?
Ooh. I think you'll probably get a different answer out of all of us for that, because it entirely depends how much we were in it. I think the longest I was there was probably 7 solid months on the first couple of films, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I only did the Chamber of Secrets, so and again, I was there sort of sporadically throughout the shoots, and I was probably, my longest sort of stint in a row was probably only 3 or 4 weeks, something like that. So I'm not, I don't know what the longest film was. I guess if we're counting the last two, which, am I right thinking we filmed as one?
Essentially, yeah.
So I would imagine that, but I'm speculating.
It took roughly about 9 months, I think, from the first day of filming to the last day of filming, roughly. And then all the editing and computer effects that get put in afterwards, because there aren't any computer effects, it's all magic. I say that. Yeah, it takes about a year, roughly.
Okay, where's he gone? I don't know, he's hiding. I won't say with another question.
If you could play another character, who would you play?
Oh, well there you go, if you can play any other character, who would you play?
I would probably go for Draco Malfoy. Because maybe it's a blonde thing, I don't know. But
You men are all the same.
I would like. I think a villain's always fun to play, isn't it? So yeah, I think maybe Draco.
I don't know. I always quite liked Tom Riddle as a character, but then he only did one film. Tom Riddle, good traditional British bad guy.
And he has the sort of the Bond villain
He does have
thing
the Bond villain.
toying with his laying out exactly his plan. And giving everybody the opportunity to foil it.
I'd like to play Hermione. I doubt I would be cast as Hermione, but it's the best woman's part in it, and that's what I would go for.
Excellent. It would certainly be different.
Very different.
Got for a different tangent.
Hi. I was just wondering, what was the whole process of getting the job and getting cast, and what did you have to go through to actually get the role that you played?
I slept with a lot of people.
That's the only way to do it.
How many people do you sleep with you?
Oh, thank
It's dangerous territory. Sorry.
I imagine it was a very different process for all of us. Mine was long and drawn out. I remember I first replied to an advert that went up in my school. It was a fax. Shows you how long ago it was. This was when I think the first film had come out, and the second one was obviously being cast. So I just replied to that, and then I went for an audition and didn't hear anything for a few months, and then went to another audition. Didn't hear anything for another few months, and went to a third audition, which was a screen test, and then again didn't hear anything for quite sort of a painfully long time. Until I eventually heard that I got the part. So at various points along the journey, I was convinced that obviously we would have gone to someone else. And I think actually when I started, I was auditioning for a different character as well. I think I was auditioning for Justin Finch Fletchley. It was a kind of strange
I
process.
couldn't imagine you as Justin Finch.
Well, nor could I, to be honest. But obviously changed my mind.
Good day.
I was invited to go for an interview, and I was there with the producer and the director and a couple of other people. There was a sort of desk full of people, and I just sat and chatted to them. And I hadn't read Harry Potter, and I didn't know anything about it, and I still know very little, to my embarrassment here. All of you know far more than I do. And I wanted to get it because I thought it was going to be a prestigious thing to be in, from a professional point of view. And it's true that it's made a big difference to my career, I think, because it made me much better known than I was before.
I was going to say, to get a lot of so small children coming up to you recognising you.
Yes, a lot, everywhere. And I've been mobbed in Lithuania. This is an unusual experience. Since the war, anyway. And so it was like that. I was just interviewed. And then, I don't know, a week later they said yes. I don't know who else was up for the part. Do you know anybody else was up for this part?
But what I found really interesting, because briefly my process was, they advertised it on BBC Newsround way back when it first all started in 2000, so 16 years ago. And a mate of mine who is also ginger, who I went to youth theatre with, and that's what I did. He rang me up and went, "Oh, did you see that on the telly?" I was like, "Well, yeah." I was like, "Oh, I'm going to write in and ask to play Ron." And he had to write a letter and send me a picture and say, "I would like to play this character in Harry Potter because, 12 words or less kind of thing." He was like, "Oh, I'm going to apply to play Ron. I think I'd be a really good Ron." I was like, "Yeah, I suppose, yeah, okay, yeah." He was like, "You should do it too. You should apply too." I was like, "Well, who would I go for?" I was 16. I was like, "I'm way too old to play Ron. I'm ginger, so there's really no point in applying to play Harry. That's just stupid. There's one of me. I'm not going to be one of the twins. Percy, maybe, I guess. I was prefect at school. It sort of seemed to make sense. And sort of the slightly canny 16-year-old in me went, well, nobody else will want that part, so the one I'd probably stand the most chance of getting. And that was April, and then what they'd said on the telly was, if you don't hear anything in 2 weeks, then just kind of forget it ever happened. No chance. And they rang me back in late August and said, "Oh, hi, it's so-and-so from David Hayman's office." And I had no idea who David Hayman was or who this woman was. And said, "Oh, yeah, we'd like you to come in and audition for Harry Potter tomorrow. We're faxing you some script. Turn up at Denmark Street in London," which ironically is now where... no, don't worry.
Just concentrate.
Yes, sorry. And I went and I met the casting director, and that was on a Wednesday, and I did my bit, and she asked me to come back on the Tuesday and meet the director, Chris, and the producers, and then they rang me the day later, and I started a week after that, so it was a very bizarre, quick process. But what I was going to say was that what was really interesting after that was hearing the announcements of all the casting coming in, when they cast you, and when they cast Richard Harris, and then Alan Rickman, and then Julie Walters came in, and it was all these enormous names and these people that you're so familiar with, especially as a sort of a newbie to this industry. But also it seemed that they'd managed to find the perfect person to play every single role. And I've always been a little bit of a fanboy, and I was looking around all the forums on the internet, and people were going, "Oh, I think Alan Rickman would be an amazing Snape," and then Alan Rickman got Snape, and Julie Walters should be an amazing Mrs. Weasley, and then it was Julie Walters, and it just seemed that they came up with a wish list of who they wanted, and then got it, which was perfect, really.
I think it was a life-changing experience being in it.
Yeah.
I was just a run-of-the-mill actress and glad to work. And I think it did a lot for my career to be in Harry Potter. And coming to these kind of conventions and meeting fans and getting autographs. I get hundreds of autographs to do a year, so please always send the stamp. It's been life-changing. So I'm very grateful to it. I'm just not terribly interested in it somehow. I sort of, it's in the past, and I've gone on and got older and done other things. But it's always there, and I'm very grateful.
I've noticed that they've switched the red light on, which means we've got time for...
Well, what about those people?
I know. They must be disappointed.
Just shout out, darling.
Sorry. You said that there was improvisation involved in the breakfast scene. Did you also get yourselves to do some improv? And would you like to do improvisation, or are you rather, do you like it when everything is set out for you?
Depends on the medium that you're working in, I think. Not so easy to improvise so much on the screen in my experience, because it really freaks out the continuity people and the editors. And working now in production, we really don't like it when things aren't going to plan on set. It puts the day behind, it's not great. On stage, it's a whole other matter, and that's one of the things I like about getting up in front of people.
Yeah, I'm a little bit improv phobic, but I think it can be quite fun. I remember in my audition, it was almost all improv, and it was. I remember I was sitting in Lucian Studios with Chris Columbus, and he was just like, yeah, so just go, just try and get a picture of me, and I'll be really reluctant to get a picture. So it was just me kind of like following Chris Columbus around this office, trying to get a picture of him. But yeah, it can go both ways with improv. I think sometimes you can just be like,
not like.
Give me a script. Sorry, not like. Yeah. So, sorry, I've been told now.
Well, you must have a really, really good ad lib. What's your favourite ad lib that you've ever done?
Almost everything I say is ad lib, including things I'm supposed to have learned. So I don't have any favourites. I just say what comes out, and it pops out.
Excellent. Easy. Right, well, sadly, look at the time, that's all we've got time for. So can you please put your hands together and thank our guests today.
That was really good.